Hey guys, there's a really cool company called Gamebox Monthly that I'm kind of obsessed with. They send you like indie tabletop games sent to your door every month, like tabletop games like, Cards Against Humanity or other things like that, like things that you can actually interact with other people, humans. I really love it. And it's a really cool way to discover new games together with the people that you love or kind of remotely like, and kind of engaging your real social network because you did have one before Facebook. So please go to gameboxmonthly.com and rediscover social.
Krista! Hey, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Really? Because you seem a little...
I said I'm fine.
Okay, well, we all love you, so if you need to talk, we're...
She's fine. She's fine.
Hey, everybody. I have been, do you ever do this thing where you apologize for everything all the time? See, this is my deal. This is my problem. I'm sorry, but it is. I apologize for everything. I could be the one that, somebody ran into and I'll be like, I'm sorry. And I always wonder where that comes from. And it's been happening so much. And I came across this article. I don't know if you guys ever get a chance to check out Daily Ohm. There is this awesome woman that writes these great articles. Her name's Madison Taylor, and she's really cool, and I really like her a lot. She writes these little articles, and this is one that just came up this morning for me, and I was like, I'm going to do this. Basically talking about how apologizing chronically can be a sign that you're not feeling that you have much self-worth. So I was like, whoa. So I wanted to do it. And I have a friend of mine that, is coming on to do my podcast, who is amazing and wonderful. She's a brilliant actress. And I worked with her years ago on a show called What About Brian? And that's where we met and fell in love. And that love has just spanned the test of time. Her name is Rachelle Lefevre. It has an R in it, so I always used to go Lefevre. That's wrong. Anyway, she is on a show called Mary Kills People. It's in its second season in Canada. She's also Canadian, which is very apropos that I'm doing an I'm sorry thing. The Mary Kills People is coming to the United States, and it's premiering on Lifetime on March 12th. And you can see her also on that really super cool Philip K. Dick anthology on Amazon called Electric Dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, Rachelle Lefevre. How was that?
That was good. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was supposed to talk. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
She's literally looking at me like I'm crazy.
I got it wrong. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry
you did good. I just looked at her. I looked at her. I'm
that I
like,
was
it's your
born.
turn to say hello. That's your intro.
I thought I would start by apologizing for something.
Come on. I'm sorry. Should I have done it differently? I don't know. I should have been more clear.
No, it's me. It's my fault.
No, really.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I keep apologizing.
Do you know what's really scary about this like slightly comedic bit that we're doing right now?
Yeah.
You know what's scary is that this sounds like a potential real conversation from my life.
Really?
Like it could actually be an excerpt. Yeah, don't you find you have conversations, especially with women that sort of go unbeknownst to you, that kind of go, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry, no, no, I'm sorry.
Yes, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. But that's the thing with this article that Madison Taylor wrote. And she talks about it. There's a place in here where she was like, the article is awesome. Like I said, it's on Daily Ohm and it's called The Feeling Underneath. So you guys can Google the article, and basically it's this whole thing. But one of the things that she says is that, if you do something, you step on somebody's toe, I'm sorry, it's totally fine, or, whatever. But for something that you didn't do, she was like, a lot of times, excuse me would be a more appropriate choice. Oh, excuse me. And I was like, oh.
Have you ever tried that?
I've tried. I can't do it.
Because I have.
What happened?
And coincidentally, not because I read the article, but which I have, but a while ago, I actually sort of had a thought on my own, and I just started saying "excuse me" instead of saying "I'm sorry," and it doesn't go well.
Why? What happened?
People, no, it's like you say "excuse me," And people think you're being rude or you aren't being that you aren't being gracious enough somehow. Like they don't let you off the hook the
Oh,
same
right.
way they do
You know
if you
what?
say you're
I
sorry.
could see that. So if somebody's on their cell phone and they turn around because they're not watching and they bump into you and you go, "Oh, excuse me."
Yeah.
They would be like,
Yeah.
"Excuse you."
Yeah, and I have a theory about why people don't like it. Is because instead of taking all the blame for yourself, it puts personal responsibility on them. So when you say,
Right.
"I'm sorry," what you're saying is, "It's okay that you bumped into me." When
Right.
you say, "Excuse me," all you're saying is, "I'm making you aware that you bumped into me." And then it puts the onus on them to say they're sorry, which people don't like. People don't like
Right.
personal responsibility.
People, I guess not. But if it was switched and it was on me, I'm trying to think of what I do, and I wonder. Like I always think I'm pretty accountable in general, but maybe I'd feel the same way. But no, I
Maybe,
wouldn't. I'd
or
probably
you
be
would
like,
probably just say you're sorry.
I'd probably just say I'm
If somebody
sorry.
went, "Excuse me," you would just be like,
I'm
"Oh,
sorry.
sorry."
Yeah, I would. I would, but that's like a really big deal. And one of the things when you were talking about this, I thought it was very funny because you're from Canada and Canadians are like known for saying I'm sorry for everything.
We're
They're the most
insanely
politely
famous
people.
for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And I think half of it is because it's sorry. Wait, how do you say it?
Well, so I'm from Montreal, so we say sorry, but yes,
Yeah, you're from the
if
classy
you go
part.
further west,
Not that other parts aren't
if you go to
classy.
Toronto, you're like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." There, it
Yeah,
took me a second. I
yeah.
sound like I was from,
I'm
I don't know where I
sorry.
was.
Well,
Sorry,
and you
I'm
can always
sorry.
tell when you see Canadian shows.
Oot and a boot. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I went out in a boot and stayed out too late.
Yeah, yeah. You can always tell Canadian shows because they have that little accent too, and it always takes me out of the entire thing.
I had to learn when I came here. I had to learn for my auditions to say sorry instead of sorry.
Oh, really?
Because, I had been working in Toronto and Vancouver for a while
And
before
so
I
you
came out
got
to LA, and I
yeah,
picked it up. I,
yeah.
ended up with that, yeah, and casting directors were like, "Oh, you're Canadian."
And yeah, you're like, "How did you know?"
Mhm.
Oh,
No.
sorry.
Sorry.
No, it's so true. See, this also goes deeper for me, the I'm sorry thing. Like, I think when I was a little girl, I honestly, when I was a little girl, my favorite board game was Sorry. So if that tells you
Love
anything,
that game. It's very
that's
telling.
where it all started. I just, whoa, breakthrough moment. Wow.
Hear that, parents? More Monopoly, less sorry.
But I think it goes deeper than that because even I think, okay, so you're also a new mom. Well, a new mom, you have a 21
Mhm.
month old little boy
Yeah.
and you're loving that.
Mhm.
And, I guess even like with the parenting stuff, like I remember when as Jake, my son, was getting older, he was always pretty great. Like being a mom, he wasn't like the dicky child that was like trying to steal toys, and he was
Yeah,
always
I
pretty
feel like we have, like, a
open.
good, sweet kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I had a good sweet kid too, and it was good. But I think, you know, one of the things as a parent is also watching him watch me as a mom and seeing the way that I was, and he would do the same thing.
Sure.
So I noticed when he became around 7, 8, he was saying sorry all the time
Really?
because the same, not, yes,
Yeah, 'cause
like,
they're
oh,
like little
sorry,
mirrors.
sorry, sorry.
Mhm.
And even on the playground, like somebody would, steal his toy. Oh, sorry, And I was like, wait, I'm probably teaching him the wrong thing here. And I had to really look at myself. Now, the cool thing is I can teach it, but I can't necessarily do it in my own life. Like I can hear it and see it from him
Sure.
because he's my son, or one of my friends be like, "Why are you apologizing so much? Like you didn't even do anything wrong." But when it comes to me and changing the whole thing, and that ends up filtering into relationships and
Mhm.
everything else. And also finding people within in my life, whether they're friends or whatever, that aren't accountable. And do you know what I mean?
I do.
And so I would have, because I think I would take so much, and then I went to a totally different place. And instead, when I realized that I was basically getting steamrolled, I was just a mat, you know what I mean? Like a doormat or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I went the other way and I was like, I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna apologize. And I went
Mhm.
to a totally different place So there's this happy medium, you know what I mean? But I think with the I'm sorry thing, it goes to so many different were your parents, were they very apologetic? Were they because they're from Canada,
No,
but
yes, because they were from Canada, but like not really. No, like I don't know where I learned it because I don't remember getting it at home. Neither of my parents have those sort of like apologetic personalities,
so maybe that's
especially not
why.
my mom, because she's really, really strong. But also we sort of have it like as a we have it as a culture in Canada, just like it
Yeah.
just gets in there. It just gets
Yeah.
into like the, sort of the friendly. It's
Yeah.
part of being friendly is being sorry. Like part of being friendly is
Right.
like, no, I did it. No, it's me.
Right.
And I think we just sort of have that as like a very surface level thing. But on a deeper sense, I wonder if I didn't get it. And I'm sure, it'd be interesting to hear to look at comments on your podcast or, get
Yeah.
feedback if what the men think of this conversation. Because I wonder how much of it I got because growing up as a woman, there's a lot of
Sorry.
expectation
Ooh, that's a
to
good
be
point.
to be sort of submissive
And
and
demure.
to be like ready for it to be your fault even if it isn't because in a way that's the path of least resistance.
Well,
Like
right.
just like and it's interesting. I had an acting
Ooh.
coach once who said to me about my acting, she was really hard on me. I was being really, really like nice all the time in my scenes. And she said to me once, "Don't be such a Pollyanna." She said, being nice is just another way, or being sorry, she said, it's all just another way to say, please like me.
Right.
Please like
And
me.
that is very
And I
true.
think I think that's where my I'm sorry comes from is I'm still like the sort of loser kid in high school who just wants you to like be
Oh my
my
God.
friend.
Such a
Like sorry,
yeah.
sorry, please like me. Please don't not like me. Please,
Yeah.
sorry.
I think that's a really good
Yeah.
thing. I think what you're saying, because I tend to be a big people pleaser too.
Mhm.
But here's like a different part of it if you wanted to reverse it. That's such a manipulation. Do you know what I mean? Like
Totally.
being a people pleaser, saying, I'm sorry, just I want you to like me. I'm gonna be this person. No wonder we're actors.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes. I love that you're courageous enough to just use the word manipulation because it is. It's
Yeah.
just one of the tools, it's just one of the tools in my toolbox
Yeah.
when I want someone to like me and I want the path of least resistance and I don't want confrontation is to
Right.
just fall back into this role of
Yeah.
like very, very sweet, very apologetic,
Right, and
you know.
here's the question, because I just thought of it. After I do something and I apologize, let's say one of my friends does something and whatever it is, who knows? I'm not whatever it is, and I say, "I'm sorry," or whatever it is, and I know I didn't do anything wrong, and then I don't get it back from them, or
Mhm.
they don't end up, like, owning up to it. The feeling that I feel afterwards, it's like it's like this, I'm angry. And I
Yeah.
and I start to build up a resentment. And
Totally.
now I'm mad at this person even though I gave them I'm sorry, but now I'm like, "But you didn't give me an I'm sorry back." You know? And then
Yes.
there's this resist this re like this thing where I'm angry. So
Well, because you got left hanging. Right?
right,
Like you put yourself out there to go, I'm gonna be vulnerable first. I'm gonna start this first. I'm gonna go, I'm sorry. I'm gonna like
right,
start the path to reconciliation and
right,
sort of like put my head out the window to get cut
right,
off. And
right.
and you're not.
We're starting it by
You're just
saying
letting me
yeah.
hang there,
It's the worst, and
Yeah.
then I build a resentment, and if it happens too many times and I don't say anything about it, it's like, "God, why is Krista being such a bitch?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Because you didn't say you're sorry!"
You know what I think might be even harder than that? What if we stopped saying we were sorry when we didn't mean it, just as a way of initiating, like, like, because the thing I love that you said was I caught you, like, busted, Krista, because
Yeah,
you said, I'm sorry, even if I didn't do anything wrong or even
right,
if it wasn't my fault.
right,
So if you don't think it's your fault and you
yeah,
don't think you did anything wrong, why are you starting the conversation by apologizing? Why aren't you start the
right.
conversation by going, I really feel that you owe me an apology?
Right, because also and then that is only gonna cause somebody to be defensive, at least in my life.
Right.
That
Which is
has
also a kind of manipulation.
right. You mean on their end?
No, for you.
Oh, for
You're
on me.
trying to
Always
you're trying
trying.
not to make it mad.
Right, but that is the
Right?
thing. Okay, so that goes into like a codependency thing too.
Mm.
In the
This got deep really quickly.
Yeah, I know, and we just dove right in. But yeah, that also goes into a codependency thing because codependency is basically people pleasing, manipulating,
Mhm.
holding resentment. That's all it is. And I don't know. I think I'm codependent. I mean, okay, I've been told I'm codependent. Okay, fine. I've been diagnosed with codependency. Fine. It's done. Yeah, it's there. But it's been a thing my whole life that I've been fighting with, I guess,
Mm.
and I see it like even if a guy does something really shitty and I know that I should totally walk away, I always let him off the hook just to diffuse the situation. And
Oh, we need
surprisingly,
to hang out more because we stayed friends, but I don't see you as often as I would like. And
yeah,
now that I heard that, now
yeah.
I know we need to hang out more because
But you know
I'll
what?
nip that in the
But
bud.
you know what? Surprisingly, every guy I've dated has been really cool with that.
Really cool with what? With yeah, right. Oh, sure.
Like,
Sure. It's great for them.
I've
I
been
have
pretty
8 guys I
lucky.
can
I
set you
don't
up with who will
know.
be more than happy
Yeah.
with that dynamic.
Exactly. But it's like, it's that thing where maybe it's just to diffuse a situation. But that's what I was going off of what you said. You're like, it's the path of least resistance. But it's the path of least resistance in a moment, but not for you, for your growth. Because
Mm,
what happens, like it feels good in the moment, but then when you're done and you know that you weren't honest with
mhm,
yourself and you get a lot of that, you get that feeling of, oh God, I wish I would have just said what I meant. Or
mhm,
maybe this isn't that, maybe this relationship with this friend or whoever isn't, maybe it's not really serving me in the way, or
mhm.
maybe just looking at myself and going, wow, why do I do like there's a ton of different things that could happen with all of that.
Totally. And I think you're into a really interesting sort of like categorization now, which is that politeness and honesty are not the same thing
Ooh,
at
yeah.
all. And in fact, can can very often be
Yeah.
at odds.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that who was it, Paul Simon, or I can't remember who said, there should be kindness and there's no more kindness in your honesty. And I think that honesty should definitely have kindness in it.
Yes.
But I don't know that there's a place for politeness um in honesty. So I guess what I'm trying to say is when you leave the politeness and the cordial and the path of least resistance and the no conflict and you leave that behind and you swap it for honesty, your world gets smaller before it gets bigger because some of those relationships are going to end. The
Right.
ones where you haven't been being honest,
Right.
not really, not truly honest
Yeah.
about the dynamic,
Right.
the boyfriends, probably even some girlfriends or some male
Sure.
friends, family relationships
My
change,
kid,
your kid,
whatever.
right? Like, well,
Yeah.
that, won't end, but it might get restructured,
Sure.
right? Like there's all your relationships, some of them can actually just end and your world can get smaller before it gets bigger in a healthier way.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have to oh God, the worst
It
cliche
is.
ever, forgive me, but like the prune the roses for the growth.
Right? That's a good,
You're
that's
like, the world
yeah.
has to get smaller before it can get bigger in a healthy way and new
Yeah.
relationships blossom. And maybe they're relationships where you don't find yourself always saying you're so effing sorry.
Well, and here's another part of this too. We're just gonna keep peeling this onion down
How deep can
because
we go?
because if I am very big into, and a lot of the people that listen know this, I have just really started to hone in on law of attraction
Mhm.
and what that means. I've always known about it, and I've always been the one that's been able to talk to people about it. Not really, but like,
Mhm.
your thoughts create your reality or whatever it is. And
Mhm.
but I didn't live it. It was just very easy for me to, you know, talk about it because I would read about it, but to
Mhm.
apply it to my own life. But now I'm doing it. So what I was going to say is, if my belief system is that I always have to say I'm sorry, then I am absolutely going to continue to get people into my life that aren't going to be accountable. If my belief system is
Sure.
that people aren't accountable, that, I'm never, I want to be able to have a honest relationship with, everybody in my life and still be able to say how I feel and get that reciprocated.
Mhm.
Because that is something that is so foreign to me, what usually appears in my life is quite the opposite.
Mhm.
And that's just that belief system. And they say, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again. So change the
Mhm.
thought and think a better one. Like, Wow.
Totally. No, hey, I relate to that. Before I got married, I think I thought the laws of attraction was just you're supposed to, if you're attracted, just ignore everything else. That's the law of attraction,
Right.
right?
That's
It's like-
right. That's right. Paint all the red flags
yeah,
white.
yeah. Whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. Oh, I used to write really terrible poetry when I'd get my heart, flushed down the toilet, and I'd sit alone in my room and write really bad poetry called, I think wrote one called Red Flags.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Hallmark, never call me. I'm not a good writer. Just write greeting cards. No, but what I was thinking while you were saying that, I was like, what about even like feeling about ourselves that we deserve someone that would go even a step further for us, that when we say we're sorry and we don't have to, would say, you don't have to apologize.
Yeah.
You have nothing to apologize
Yeah.
for. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Or, you know what? Thank you so much for apologizing, but this one's on me.
Right. That would be nice too.
Wouldn't that be, incredible?
Yeah.
And I married a man like that. So I feel really, really, really blessed. And
Yeah,
and I feel that
that's-
my friendships
Yeah.
work that way.
Yeah.
But they didn't for a long time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I deserved that. I didn't know that it was out there.
Right, because there's also that thing which I just realized where my story used to be that I always fucked up. Like I was always
Mhm.
doing something wrong. So that was my upbringing, kind of like, oh man, I could never, So that was another thing where I was like, sorry, sorry, sorry.
Yeah.
And so that is like what Madison Taylor was saying in this thing is that in this article is that it's a sign that you're not feeling that you have a lot of self-worth.
Sure.
And I totally can relate to that, like 1,000%. And I think, but here's the funny thing too. As I look at my son's generation, my son is going to be 21 soon.
Ugh, millennials.
The millennials. I know, but it's because our kids and your son is going to
Mhm.
be hopefully that millennial thing where we like gave way too much and all of that stuff is going to kind
Uh-huh.
of be over because we're getting and we're seeing, oh shit, we don't want another generation of
Uh-huh.
do it for me, mom. Don't know what to do. I
Yeah.
don't care,
Created
whatever.
a generation of entitlement.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's right there, and it's funny. My son is amazing, but my son also has to deal with me as his mom, which is like I will talk, as you can imagine, until he's like, I can't do that. Like I tell him, well, this is this and this is this. It's like those chatty Cathy dolls that used to pull the string on the neck. They are old dolls. You pull it out and you go
Mhm.
da, 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 da,
Yep.
as the string went in. That's what I feel like most
Yeah.
of the time, and somebody told me once, words don't teach. They really don't. Words don't teach. It's your actions. It's how you live life is what teaches. And I realized that um I would try to teach so much with words because I didn't know how to actively live it. So it was
Mm.
almost like I was trying to it's almost like I was trying to make myself learn it by teaching it to other people because I
Mhm.
hadn't got it yet.
My friend calls that take my advice, I'm not using it.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, and on the next episode of Take My Advice,
I'm not using
yes.
it.
and that's that too. But it's almost like we almost look at other people in our lives. Well, we do. Like you'd be perfect. Not like whoever that is, a hypothetical person. You would be perfect if only this would change
Mhm.
instead of looking at like inward. And I know for me, I've always picked people in my life a lot of times that I probably didn't. I didn't have a lot of self-worth and I would start to build that whole story of unworthiness.
Mhm.
And then it changed. And as things started to change and I started to see what a great impact it had on my kid's life first. And what I love about Jake is that if he can be, he's 20 years old. He absolutely can get in the worst moods and he can be such a jerk sometimes,
Sure.
right? And I get my feelings hurt so easily. I'm
Mm.
such a baby. So sometimes, and he knows it now. He knows me so well at this point, and he'll just be like, whatever. But he'll call me up or he'll text and he'll be like, hey, sorry, I was in a bad mood, whatever, whatever. And it's so nice because he also knows that feels better for him. And I would never go, yeah, you are a jerk. I'd be like, thank you so much. And I think it's being able to give the gift of an apology too
Mm-hmm.
on the other end when I'm sorry is really necessary,
Mm-hmm.
and not having somebody on the other end that doesn't believe your apology. You know what I
Mm.
that
Yeah, totally. I actually, that's funny. I'm just reminding of, I was reading an article because my son is 21 months old and I'm thinking about like, oh my God, how do I discipline him? And he doesn't
Mhm.
know and he doesn't understand. And where's he at? And I was reading articles about how, be careful not to say no too much because you go, no, 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 all day to everything they try to do to kill themselves. And it just ends up being meaningless.
Right.
And as you're saying that, I'm wondering if we do that with apologies in our culture, right? Which is if
Yeah.
we walk around sort of like varying degrees of I'm sorry all the time, then
Right.
when you actually say you're sorry, it's kind of like cheap and easy
Yeah.
as opposed to meaningful.
Right, because yeah, if somebody's doing something specifically to you, and it's something like if I every Wednesday we go to have coffee and I'm late by 30 minutes every single time, and every time I go, I'm so sorry, I'm so
Right.
sorry,
So
and I
sorry.
don't
Sorry.
change the behavior,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, you're going to be like, "You know what? I don't think you're sorry." Because if you're sorry, you'd stop or you'd actively try to make this better. You would make an effort to make it better.
Yeah.
And
Oh God. And,
yeah,
and and how people go, I said I was sorry,
ooh, that's the
as
worst.
if as if saying the words of the apology is the apology. That's
The
it.
forced apology is the
Ah.
worst.
I
It's
said I was
like
sorry. It's like,
yeah,
wait, but when you said you were sorry, that's not the thing that makes it okay. The thing that makes it okay is the I'm sorry, is the implication, it's the insinuation that the behavior is now going to change,
right.
like you're saying, right?
Do you know the love story, that
Love means
quote?
never having to say you're sorry.
I've hated that saying forever. I'm like, "You bet I don't know what kind of love you're
Uh,
experiencing."
I have spent my entire life in some sort of verbal mental gymnastics
Over that.
trying to make that make sense because it's so beautiful and I want it to be meaningful because it
No.
sounds beautiful,
Yeah.
but it's
It's
so
impossible.
wrong.
It's so wrong. Love means never
Never having
having
to
to
say
say
you're
I'm sorry.
sorry.
What?
Yeah.
Come on. Like, of course.
You know what though?
What
Wait.
does that even
Wait,
mean?
wait, more mental gymnastics.
Okay.
But because you talked
Unconditional.
yeah, wait, because you talked about behavior. We're
Yeah.
talking about behavior now. So what if the idea that love means never having to say you're sorry is that if you really love someone, you don't say you're sorry, you just effing change.
Okay,
You
I like
just
that.
become better. You don't apologize, which is the sort of most meaningless part of the transformation when you've done something wrong.
Right, of course. But, just for a quick fix,
Yeah.
sorry. And then you can change. But
Yes.
just that maybe, yeah. But
Yeah.
whatever.
No, I'm with you. Look, I'm totally wrong. I just had to try again because
I say sorry to my dogs all the time. Like if I like
yeah, sure.
whatever it is, sorry, sorry.
They don't even
Oh,
speak
I
English. And you're
spilled
like,
I
yeah.
spill their water when I'm putting it in. Sorry, like,
Yeah.
like whatever it is. I run into a door, nobody's around. Sorry.
I explain things to my dogs as if they spoke English. Like I'm just hoping they can get my like sort of energy. But if I step on one of my dog's foot and they do like that horrible yelp sound,
It's
I
terrible.
will get down and I'll be like, I'm so sorry. It was an accident. Mommy loves you. I looked down. I didn't see. Like I'll
Yes.
go into this lengthy,
Yeah.
narration of what happened.
Yeah.
And the dog has been over it
Yeah.
since
Because he doesn't
since it
understand.
happened.
No,
Yeah.
actually they love it because whatever that
You
is, it
think?
like takes them out of like dogs don't. I mean, of course dogs care, but we humanize dogs so much that it
We
probably
do.
makes their life even harder. I mean, yes, take care of them, give them shelter, don't leave them outside. Don't, make
Right.
sure you give them love and walks and
But they
attention.
don't necessarily need yoga therapy.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
Speaking of all that stuff, I have a friend of mine who is currently taking her dog to a therapist. A dog therapist. I will not say the name of this person because
Why? Wait, so I have to ask, is this like, because there are people who are like dog behaviorists
No,
who I totally get, like
it
some
was
dogs suffer from anxiety
it
or
was a
whatever.
rescue dog.
Okay.
And yes, so it's a rescue dog, and she feels like and it's not aggressive. The dog
Okay.
is not aggressive or anything like that. She just feels like he needs to come out of his shell
Uh-huh.
and has social anxiety,
Oh.
which is I totally get it. So maybe it is a behavioral thing, but they want to put the dog on a Prozac.
No.
Yes, on like a doggy Prozac kind of thing. And I was like, that is when it goes into that other place. I guess it works for some people. And she is like gung ho about it. She's like, no, I've heard so many great stories about it. Or like, is it a doggy Xanax? Maybe it's the doggy Xanax or something. But it just seems so odd. And there's that humanizing thing where it's like, everything is like,
It is. It's like I look. I love my dogs, and I don't want to make anybody feel bad who wants the best for their dog,
yeah,
But I do feel like there's a little bit too much like personification going on there.
there is.
Because in the wild, they don't give them prescriptions.
No,
Like
no, they
they
don't.
figure it out.
But some of these, and we're getting into dogs right now, but
This is the part you'll edit out for the dog
this
podcast.
is yes, this
right?
will be the dog
Okay.
podcast. But no, this is it. This is another very interesting fact, which is when dogs are about to pass away, they don't realize
Mhm.
that they stay because of the energy. And when you give them, if they're focused on wanting to pass and you give them another energy to focus on, like, oh, let me make you comfortable, or let me do that, which of course make them comfortable, or that's the
Mhm.
wrong thing. Their focus will move to something else and they stay longer
Mm.
because their focus has been reframed. And so they say, basically, you tell the dog, you know what, I love you. When you're ready to go, go. Just
They say the
go.
same thing about people.
Yeah. Oh, that's
That
true.
you're like if
It's
that if
energy.
people are that's like really important to give people permission to go,
Yeah.
that they stick around.
I can imagine. Can you? I mean, we're not going to get into death now, but at the same time, it's like it is. It's like really intense because
Yeah.
you want to, like, you're ready to go, but then somebody gives you a focus, or if you feel like yeah, you've heard of people that hang around until their son comes back to the hospital.
My grandmother waited for me to say, 'cause she was supposed to have died like 3 days prior, and I was like 18 years old and just running around, and it was like very busy. Go see your grandmother. Go see your grandmother. And the doctor said, that she was going to pass,
Wow.
and I didn't go for what because I was young and an asshole, I guess. And it took me 3 days to get there, and
Did you
then
apologize?
I did. I came in and I went, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. It took me 3 days to get here. I'm so sorry. And then I said goodbye to her, and she died like an hour later. And my mother said to me, she waited for you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, that's a little bit of a guilty thing too, by the way. She no.
hey, you know what? I'm gonna spin it. You're welcome. I kept her around for 3 extra
For
days.
3 days.
You're welcome.
She's like, yeah, she waited for you. She was really ready to go.
Yeah, well, I'm Jewish, so we got guilt.
It's true. I don't know. I think I'm really working. I want to try to work on the I'm sorry thing, no matter what it is, even just that feeling of need of not that I guess it is. I keep going back to the self-worth thing, but I feel like that is I've been on this journey lately, see. And I'm growing in this like really cool way. And ever since I started this podcast, so the whole thing behind this podcast for me was I'm fine, with the quotes around it, because it's
Mhm.
like everybody's always like, I'm fine, I'm fine. It's a big
Mhm.
lie. And I have been such a self help junkie my whole life.
Mhm.
So people would come to me for advice and I would give the best advice. But then behind the curtain, I'm the hot mess. And I'm
Mhm.
like, why is this happening? And after a while, you know, I people were like, yeah, you're actually kind of messed up, like, why are you making these decisions? And it almost made me feel like I was almost embarrassed to go to my friends to talk to them about stuff, because these are
Mhm.
the very things that I would talk to them about for so long. And then I started doing this podcast. I just started like getting into all of this stuff. And I started to find that people would come on and my guests would be there. And I would learn so much more about myself, but like really being honest about it. And then
Mhm.
having whoever I was with would also be super honest about whatever they were going through. And I feel like I have grown so much as a person in the last 20 episodes, and really focusing on like like our whole goal in life is just to be the best we can be, but we're
Couldn't
never
agree more.
but we're but see, we can't get it wrong. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Ever. And we're never going to get it done, because if we get it done, then we might as well be dead.
Mhm.
Right? And so it's like I think that you can't get it wrong, and take two and take three, whatever it is, you
Yeah, and imagine living in a world where when you're comfortable with yourself like that, you give other people permission to be comfortable. When you're honest, when you're vulnerable, it makes other people feel safe to be honest and vulnerable. Imagine we were living in a world where everyone was okay walking around being, scary and damaged. in
Oh my
some
God.
way.
Yeah.
That we
Yeah.
didn't have to pretend to be that there was no I'm fine, I'm good.
Right.
I feel like there would be I'm going to use such a hippie word, but we're in LA. I feel like there would be so much healing.
No,
Like what
that's
I
such a
really do, you
of
know?
course, of course. It would be amazing if that happened. If we could just go into life basically giving all of our disclaimers like, you know, um, like if somebody was like announcing me I gave you like this big intro and if
Mhm.
it was reversed and you would be like, and I have Krista Allen here. She got married once because she was pregnant, and a second time to a 5'6" Persian cage fighting rapper, and he broke up with her. She had a cocaine problem in her early
Ah,
20s and uses self-help books as paperweights, and she's worn that shirt for 3 days or whatever, like
yeah.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, and you're like, oh, that's my girl. Like
Yeah, no, it would be
it gives
great
us
if
a
we look
chance.
if we lived in a world where somebody would listen to that, hear that, and instead of having any judgment about it, would
Hmm.
just pick out the commonalities,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Like just if somebody was like, "Oh my god, you did cocaine too?
yeah,
Isn't it so
right.
nice to be over that?"
Oh man,
You
I
know?
remember
Right?
back in the
Like,
day
like
or
rather than
whatever it
being
is.
like, "You did drugs," or like whatever it
But
is, whatever your thing is.
we lead a lot with the accolades of what anybody did. And the reason I'm saying this is because I'm writing a joke right now about this. And
Okay.
that's why I'm like, oh my God, this reminds me of this joke I'm writing. And it's I said something about like if I go on a date with a guy, like I what if we just led with honesty? And I'm like, look, I want you to know that I'm going to give you blowjobs every single day and I'm going to cook you dinner and give you all the space that you need, but only for 3 months. And then I'm going to text you like 40 times a day and I'm going to cry a lot and probably emasculate you. You cool with that? Like, and you know what I mean? So, and he's like, oh, did you say blowjobs every day? I'm in,
Man,
you know?
I didn't hear anything after that.
I'm working on this joke because it's like, it would be so cool if we could just go to that place,
Totally.
right? But then nobody's going to because,
No. Do you know, actually, my husband on our first date said to me very early on, like 5 sentences in or something, he said, I just want you to know I'm like Dexter. And I'm thinking, what the fuck does that mean? He said, I just said, what does that mean? And he said, I travel with knives. I have no feelings. I have no feelings and I travel with knives. So he's a chef.
Oh
So
my
he
God.
does in fact
I
travel
was
with this
wondering
like
about the knife
massive
thing.
knife roll that he takes everywhere he goes. Chefs carry these like big leather knife
Yeah.
rolls and it's very dramatic. When they open them up, they roll them out and out roll all
Oh,
these like super sharp different like
yeah.
knives. So he travels with a knife roll and he said, I have no feelings and I travel with knives. And it turns out that not only does he travel with knives, but he has feelings. He just doesn't know quite how to get to them. You have to like mine for them and whatever.
Right.
So in the beginning, he seemed like he didn't have any feelings
Right.
because he wouldn't talk about them or anything. But he was so tired of
Yeah.
women breaking up with him
Yeah.
because they would be like, "Why don't you say how you
Yeah.
feel?"
You're like, well, when I met him, he was emotionally available, but he had very strong feelings about it. So I knew
right.
there was a chance.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I guess with me, he just gave up and he was just like, I'm just going to be honest. So he
Oh,
just came
wow.
right out with it. He was like, I have no feelings. I can't.
And you're like,
the thing where like you want like a modern man who's going to tell you
Yeah.
for 45 minutes how he feels
Yeah.
about that. Like, I'm not that guy.
and you're like, challenge accepted.
yeah, no, totally. I was like, you think we're not going to talk about feelings for 45 minutes?
Yes, exactly. That's
See your
really
45
funny.
minutes and I'll raise you an hour and a half. you
Yeah,
know?
you're just gonna smile and nod your head and think, I think I can fix that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It turns out it's good though, because I get to do all the feeling talking, which is what I really like. I don't like to listen to him talk about his feelings. I pretend that I do.
Yeah.
But really what I want him to do is listen to me talk about my feelings
course.
and then pretend that it was really meaningful.
Right. Yes. And
And all he wants is a blowjob.
right. Yes.
So yeah.
He's like, if that's what it takes, I will just nod my head. Yeah, it's very true. It's talking and communicating is such a big deal. And especially within the I'm sorry stuff. Like sometimes I generally try to explain to guys all the time that communication, even my girlfriends too, but in relationships where you're together and you're in a partnership, you know, anything a guy says after his wife or girlfriend is finished talking is the beginning of a new argument. So so if they would just nod their head
Uh-huh.
and say you're right,
Uh-huh.
then he gets a blowjob quicker.
Sometimes I tell my husband what to say.
I do that too.
Yeah. Or I'll just say, I'm going to tell you how you feel and what you did and why you feel that way and why you said that and how it made me feel. And then you're going to say you're sorry. And then we're going to be done.
And what does he say?
Like I'll just, if he agrees with me, he's not a,
Is he
he's
defensive?
he's not a wet rag. So he will, if he disagrees, he will absolutely stand his ground.
Right.
No, but he was in the beginning, but now he's realized that like, if I make a good case for why I feel he owes me an apology and why I feel that the right thing for him to say is that he's sorry and he hears me and he understands, then he absolutely he goes, you're right. I'm sorry.
And he knows what he's sorry about. That's a big thing with relationships.
Well, he knows what he's sorry for because I told him.
Right.
But yes, no, internally
But does he get
yes,
it?
no, he does. And thank God, because in the beginning of our relationship, it was like that. I was that for a long time in my life, I was that horrible nagging person who would be like, "And what are you sorry for?"
Right. Because
Which
that's
is how
a big
which is how
deal.
you treat a toddler.
Well, but no, because same with, whatever. I have that same experience where it's like, and I'm doing the chatty Cathy thing where I'm like, and
Mhm.
this is how I feel and this is what happened. And I know that you didn't mean to. And I'll tell him how he's feeling. And then
Mhm.
at the end, he's like, all right, sorry. And I'm like, well, what? And he's like, whatever. I'm sorry for whatever you're mad at. And I go,
Yeah, but so you can tell, right? You can tell
Yeah.
and now we're back to the quality of the I'm sorry, which is you can
has to be
totally tell.
quality.
But you can tell when someone apologizes, or at least I feel like now I can. I hope I can. I'm in my late 30s. I can tell now whether someone means it or not,
Yeah.
or whether more conversation is required.
And you're like, oh, hold on a second. I'm not quite sure that your forced apology meant anything to me. So
yeah, so let's just break for a second.
Yeah.
And why don't you think about whether or not you actually mean the apology you just gave me, and then
Right.
let's come back.
And
Are
then-
you equally as reflective of your own stuff? That like, how often do you
I am-
apologize when you don't mean it just to get out of something?
um
Like in a real serious situation.
Here's the deal, and this is absolute truth with me. If it is a situation, I always see somebody else's side, and because there's always somebody's perspective, right? So say I really feel I deserve an apology. If I get a clear understanding, and even though I'm listening, going, that is not at all what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I still go, wow, that's what this person thought. And I go, wow, I'm really sorry. And I don't say I'm sorry you feel that way. I don't like
Mhm.
put that other stuff in there, but I'm like, I'm I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you felt that way and not my intention at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go, but my apology is usually 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
And because I just want that other person to know that I hear them and I understand them. And I think that's the part that I can work on because I think I turn it back inward and then I actually start to feel bad. Like
Right.
somebody can manipulate me right back. And the people in my life that, things haven't worked out with, they got to a place where they knew that they could do that.
Right.
And they just wouldn't give up on the other side. And by the end of it, I'm apologizing. I'm like, I am so sorry I made you cheat on me. Not
That's
really.
So no,
That-
I
not-
know.
not- that's like
no.
but-
I know, but that's so interesting because
Yeah.
it's making me realize what we do about like how we internalize, um, like the difference between. I feel like it's a huge thing in relationships, especially
Mhm.
like love relationships, where you apologize to the person because they've made you feel not for the thing that you did, but they've made you feel that like your whole person is now this thing, right? Like it is
Sure.
possible to not be an asshole and do an asshole thing.
Absolutely.
It is possible to act like, to
Yeah.
act like a dick, but not be a bad person and just be a
Absolutely
person
not.
who messed up. But isn't it interesting how once sometimes there are people who once they find out that you are vulnerable like that or that you will internalize it, they make you feel like there's such a difference between saying to someone, hey, you did this and that was a really crappy thing to do, or what kind of a crappy person does that?
Right. Right.
It's not the same thing.
It's
And then you're
not.
apologizing for who you are
Oh
as
God.
opposed to apologizing for what you did. And
Yeah.
they're not the same thing.
No, they're not, and I get stuck with that, and it's I have in the past, and again, it's still a belief system. I think that one for
Mhm.
me goes way back, and
Right.
it's
Like
one of
someone tells you that was selfish and you go, "Oh God, I'm
or
selfish."
yeah, like, that's just somewhere in there. I heard
Mm.
some things about myself from whatever
Mhm.
it was. It wasn't even mine, but somewhere in there, it's
Mm.
like, "Oh, this must be my fault. Of course I fucked up."
Mhm.
And it's really interesting. But like, even like when if I am trying to apologize for something, but somebody, this is the other part. If you're trying to apologize for something, okay, let me see if I can articulate this properly because this happens to me. Trying to apologize for something that it wasn't necessarily in the perspective that you recall, but you're still apologizing for that, for what that person felt.
Mhm.
And then you apologize for that, and then you're still made to
Mhm.
be bad, or it's like, "This is what happens all the time," and you're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Mhm.
what are you talking about?" And then it spirals into this thing. I think that that is like this weird energetic cesspool that we get ourselves into. I'll speak for myself, but
Mhm.
and it's all about that belief system.
I think
Like,
that's about the person you're apologizing to, because I have
yeah,
people like that, or I have people like that in my life sometimes, and usually when I figure out someone's like this, they don't last long because it's
yeah,
not a good sign.
yeah.
But I've had people in my life who you're like afraid to apologize because you know by saying you're sorry, you're opening the door, you're giving them permission to then berate
Oh
you.
God, yes. It's
You're
the
like, "Oh god, I'm
worst.
gonna say I'm sorry." And then the minute I say that, the person is gonna launch into this horrible lecture about how yes, I did do that. And
Mhm.
yes, I am a terrible person. And yes, I should be apologizing.
Right.
And, and they don't take it graciously. They're like
Right.
the ungracious winners,
Right.
you know?
Yes. They're the one. Yes. But it can't feel good to them either. Can you touch the dog?
Yes,
Sorry.
she's dreaming.
There, if you
Is
heard it,
she is he dreaming?
yes,
Yeah.
that's the puggle.
My dog runs in her sleep. She's like the
Yeah.
paws move.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the cutest
it's
thing.
very
Oh, did you hear that? He just goes, "Sorry."
cute.
Didn't mean to screw up the podcast.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a dog.
But yeah, there's all different kinds, but I think that kind of stuff has been so active in my life, and just like talking about it, I'm like, "Oh, this is something I really need to just be aware of." And sometimes it's literally just being aware of it. Sometimes when you say something out loud, it's like Rumpelstiltskin, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's like you say it and it's like, "Oh gosh, it's not really there because the awareness is on it. It's just an active thing to do." But with the whole with like this article in general, um that's a really interesting thing too. She's in Madison Taylor is talking about in this article more about random, like, I'm sorry. It's like
Mhm.
being out there. I mean, we just like dove deep into all kinds of stuff, but like it's really interesting because she says sometimes saying you're sorry is like saying that the other person in the equation has more right to be there than you do,
Mhm.
and that kind of a thing. But I guess that all comes back to the way that you're thinking. Like, what do you think about yourself? And I bet if you felt amazing about yourself, this shit wouldn't happen anyway. How about that? What
Well,
if
nobody feels amazing about themselves all the time.
not all the time?
Nobody that I know. There must be people like if you follow the Dalai Lama on Twitter, you have
Right.
to wonder, you're like, does he feel like that all the time?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know anybody who, when they say I'm fine,
Yeah.
means it
Right.
all the time. I don't even know if I know people who mean it the majority of the
Right.
time.
Right.
Not if you're being
If you're being honest.
honest.
But that's the growth, right? So like you go into these places. Here's what I love so much about the law of attraction stuff. It's like they say when you feel a certain way, if you feel a certain way, let's say I just apologized for somebody running into me. It
Mhm.
doesn't feel good. Like if I was like, God, that person didn't even, all of a sudden I'm kind of out of alignment with what I want. And so you know what you want by knowing what you don't want. And it's almost like this spiritual red flag that's
Mhm.
it's giving your soul going, "Hey, you don't like this." You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
every time you have an emotion that is less than amazing, you're in that place, and that's kind of what we came here to experience is that contrast. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, and I think you actually just came up with maybe like a really good little sort of therapy technique that your listeners could put into practice.
Tell me.
Which is, I think you might be a genius.
Oh my
Which is, what if we used the little interactions, like
Mhm.
like Madison is talking about in the article, right? Like the little I'm sorries
Mhm.
throughout the day. What if we used the small inconsequential things to practice,
Mhm.
and
That's
where the
great.
stakes are lower?
Yeah.
Right. So switching the I'm sorry
the
to an
key.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Right. Or just even not saying anything if it's not your place
Right.
to take the, to fall on your sword. And using those small things to practice, and then building up a sense of self and building up a confidence that you can then apply to situations where the stakes are
Yeah.
higher and you might be more afraid to make that change.
Yeah, I think that's a really it's always so much easier to do it with strangers.
Sure.
Because you know what? On the flip side of that, if I've had a bad day of feeling out of alignment or whatever it is, or just like, oh, everything is this way, or God, I feel guilty, or whatever it is, or I did just whatever it is, I was being attacked by someone, let's say in my dramatic way that I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, that's gonna go into someone else. So maybe I'm at Starbucks and the barista gets my order wrong and I do one of the I said, and
Mm-hmm.
that's happened before too. And
100%.
man, I literally, after I'm done with that interaction, generally I always go, I'm sorry, I'm in such a bad mood or whatever. And by that time, you know what I mean? Or if I don't and I walk away, I'm like, I'm such an asshole. I really, like, but
Yeah.
every time we're in those places that we feel those things, what I'm learning is that each time you get into that place where you're not feeling good, you're just experiencing what you don't want so you can realize what you do want and start to live that.
Yes. And the more you feel it, the more sensitive you become to it.
Yeah.
And the more sensitive you become to it, the earlier you can catch it.
Yeah.
Right. So, like the thing where you apologize after,
Yeah.
when you go, like, ugh, I said I wanted my latte,
Yeah.
and then you go, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just having a bad day. The more sensitive you become to those moments, then, now you're looking at you maybe 2 or 3 months down the line.
Yeah.
And now you're the beautiful person who's standing in line. You know, you're in a shit mood.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be rude because it just feels good
Right.
to be rude to strangers when you're, feeling like that.
Yes.
It's terrible, but it does
It
sometimes.
does.
It
Road
makes
rage
you
is my
just,
favorite thing.
right? And so you know that you want to do that, but you also know now that you're going to feel bad after.
Right.
Which is just what I think they call, again, empathy, right?
Right.
And so now you're standing in line and you're going, Krista or Rochelle, you're in the worst mood ever. You shouldn't even be around people.
Right.
All you have to do is be nice. Order the coffee, be kind. You have
Yeah.
no idea what this person is going through. Be kind, be
Yeah.
kind, be kind. Hi, I'd like a latte extra hot, please, with coconut
Oh,
milk.
a green tea?
Thank you.
Okay, let me get that for you.
Thank you. So sorry, I actually wanted a grande latte, extra hot with coconut milk. I'm sure you didn't hear me. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'll
Thank
go get
you.
that for you, but we're out of coconut milk. No,
I'll have almond milk. Eat a dick. Damn it! I did it again. Back in line. Try again. Right?
Yes.
I think that we could all potentially get to the place.
I
Where
mean, I think we
know
can.
we're gonna. Yeah, and then we don't do it at all.
I think we can. I think it's just once you're in that place, I know my days are never better than when I am constantly, it takes a lot of thinking and but at first it takes a lot of thinking just to get yourself used to it because it's
Yeah,
you're
like
building a
driving.
muscle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is. But then now whenever things get a little off, I'll go, ooh, that's that sign. Ooh.
Mhm.
And that's been what's really cool for me. And this is so new. So, I kind of joke about it and I say, when people find Jesus and they become born again Christians and all
Mhm.
they talk about are Bible verses,
Mhm.
that's what I feel like right now,
Mhm.
having this knowledge because I'm watching my life
Mhm.
transform in front of my eyes. And the stuff that was bothering me before, it's not showing up. And
Mhm.
the behaviors of certain people in my life that I used to complain about all the time, I
Mhm.
stopped complaining about it, focused on the good shit, and then these other things would come up too. So
Yes.
it's really phenomenal. And I wish so much. I told my son the other day he was having something going on, and I was like, I promise you, I'm not gonna make you look into this stuff, but I promise you, if you jump on this train at 20, you're going to save yourself so
Yes,
many
because
years.
when you find something that makes you feel that way, you want everyone to have it.
Yes.
Right? I
But
feel like that's a good.
everybody's things have different things.
Everybody
though.
has different things,
Yeah.
right? But that's why we're all sort of trying to share the things that work for us.
Yeah.
But I think that in general, it's probably a good litmus test, I would say.
Ooh, yeah.
I would say that if you think that people who are like that, people who are like, oh, like I'm just so full and I feel so good and you should try this. It's wonderful. And like, if you
I'm
think
not
that people,
annoying.
no, so wait. Now you're going to love what I'm going to say. If you think that people like that are annoying, you probably don't love yourself enough.
You're right.
Because if you love
my
yourself
God.
enough, you become that person.
Oh my God, you're
if you
so
love
right.
yourself, you become so insanely happy. When I feel that I fully accept and love myself, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm high.
Yeah.
I am so happy. I feel so good. I want other broken people to feel that
Yeah,
way, to
that's
feel
true.
good and love themselves. I want to give it to them like a gift. I
Yeah.
become such an annoying, hippy dippy, like,
Yeah.
I become that person. And when I'm not in a place of loving myself and
Yeah.
I'm not feeling good, I find other people who have that really annoying.
Yeah.
Because the contrast between where I could be and where I am is uncomfortable.
I love that you just said that because do you know one of my biggest, oh God, pet peeves, I guess you could say, are, and sorry for any of you out there that are this person, super spiritual yoga people. And I just had to say it with a lisp for some reason. Super spiritual yoga. Like that they're like, hello. And they have this voice like this. They're like, namaste. I'd love to. I'm a hugger. You know,
Uh-huh.
please Sid, how is your chi? I don't know. Like
Yeah.
something about it, it makes me insane. And I don't know if it's because maybe it's not authentic. Or
Yeah,
anybody that says authentic.
No, I have trouble with that too. It's a vocal thing. And whether they're talking about yoga or they're talking about any, like no matter what they're talking about, people who have voices that don't feel rooted or connected.
And it's just
I
like
don't
this.
trust you
Yeah.
because it makes me feel like you could say whatever you wanted and you wouldn't have to follow through.
Right.
Like you would tell me anything. It feels like you can, like it's not connected to who you are. It feels like you could lie to me from that place.
Yeah, or they could be saying
and you don't
something-
have to be a person who, neither Krista or I feel that you have to be a person who does yoga to have that voice or that
No.
yoga people
Yes.
are like that. That's the
not,
disclaimer.
Not all people.
We're just using the TV cliche
But
to
it
like,
also,
you know.
I also think it's like that thing where that voice is also a really easy way to be passive aggressive.
It is. It's so passive aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, sorry. Could you move? I was actually in line before you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you want to kill me.
Yeah.
Just say, sorry. I know you didn't see me, but I was standing there.
Yeah.
And I will
that's
turn
good.
around and you will get a real I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I won't turn around and go, sorry.
It
sorry,
is.
sorry. I'll turn
Yeah.
around and I'll go, I'm sorry. I didn't see you.
Yeah.
And then what if the next bit was, hey, are you okay? You seem a little stressed out. You have a
Right.
rough day?
Right.
That's you end up telling your life story to the person in the grocery
Right.
store.
And you're like, and then when I was 5.
Right.
It's so true. It's so true. And you know, I think the other part is a lot of times when you do something, I said doo-doo.
You said. Now I want to say poop.
When you do something to somebody and it is such an accident. I was at this workshop the other day and there was like these CDs that were lined up. And there's a big table, lots of people, and there was a lady there. And I remember I reached my hand in to grab one, but basically stepped right in front of her. And I went, oh my God, I completely just jacked your spot here, didn't I?
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, you kind of did. Now, and it was like, we kind of laughed about it
Uh-huh.
and I could feel the tense energy, but it just kind of released for a minute. And I
Yeah.
thought to myself, I was like, I'm so sorry, whatever. But it was this really very healthy kind of thing where I was
Right.
like, hey, that went pretty good. Instead of, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I wasn't that freaking sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And you said the key thing, right? You had the tension release.
Yeah.
Which means you didn't spend the rest of the day thinking about that bitch who was
Yeah.
like, don't you find that if you don't have like a good authentic connection with someone in the moment, I use the word authentic, but if you don't have I'll use the word clear. If you don't have a clear exchange
Yeah.
with someone, if it's fuzzy or passive aggressive or whatever, you don't have a clear exchange with someone, don't you find yourself sort of carrying them around all day? I know I do.
Yes.
I'll be like mad at somebody who cut me off in traffic all day. Like I'll just be like I want to find them. And I
Yes.
want to like tell them my story. I'm like,
Yeah.
if you knew my
If you
story,
knew.
if you knew how heartbroken I was
Yes.
today, you never would have been
Yes.
rude to me and cut me off in traffic and flipped me the bird.
Yes.
I was already damaged.
Yes.
You know, like I want to make
It's-
them feel bad that they kicked me while I was down or
Yeah.
whatever it is. I carry
Yeah.
them all day.
I do too. I can do that too in many situations. Or if somebody says something to me that's kind of rude and I don't know what to say, it's like I should be like, you know what? in 2 hours, I'm going to think of the perfect response.
Yes, totally.
Like, whatever.
And then they're not there.
And
And then
then-
you take it out on the person
and-
taking your order at Starbucks.
Yes, and it all comes full circle.
circle.
Oh my God. I hope this helped everybody. I really do. I feel
Helped me.
I helped me too. Well, this was awesome. Can you believe I've been doing this for an hour? It always
Really?
blows my mind when I look and it's like it's been an hour.
Oh my God, is that how my husband feels?
No,
He's
this
like,
is what's
you've
good.
been talking for an hour.
This is why we have girlfriends because we can do this.
Yes, it's
and
true.
we love it.
Yes, it's
And
true.
it's like we love that stuff.
Yes. And as a person who has a healthy marriage, I will say, try not to subject your husband to too much of that. Try to have great girlfriends that you can do it
Yeah.
with. Because your sex life will be better if your husband is not tired of you.
Doesn't have to hear. Yeah, exactly. Like exactly. It's very true. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we should just write a book after this. I think we should just get together and just
We'll
write a
dictate
book.
it. We'll just talk. And,
I think that's a
yeah,
good
The
idea.
computer can write it.
Okay, so you have cool stuff coming up. You're on
Mary Kills People.
Mary Kills People. That's coming out in March here in
Yeah.
the United States. You
And
guys-
Electric Dreams, which is
and
on now.
Electric Dreams. Awesome, by the way. I think I have not seen it yet, but I'm super excited to see it.
It's very cool.
I know. I just haven't had a chance.
If you're a
but-
sci-fi fan, it's very
Yeah.
cool. Or if you're just a person who wants to think about the world that we live in now with technology,
yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
but the cast is freaking amazing. Oh my God.
Yeah, and because it's an anthology, you get a new cast every week.
Yeah.
So they just got like it's like the greatest hits.
Yeah, the
you know,
greatest
of
hits
people.
of- yeah.
You know, I do not. I play a supporting role. I exclude myself from that categorization. I support the greatest hits people that are in it.
No,
but it's a really the cast is phenomenal.
I keep seeing different things, but I haven't. I will binge watch it. Is what will happen. And
Sure.
you'll be getting text messages consistently. Oh my
Sure.
God, I just
Yeah,
saw
and
this.
then I'll get that text message from you that says, "Sorry that I didn't text you back for 3 days. I was binge watking Amazon."
Yes, that's exactly what I'll do. Well, where can people find you on social media so that they can follow you and give you
Ooh.
love?
I make it really easy. It's just my name on Twitter and Instagram. It's just my name, Rachelle Lefevre, RACHELLEFEVRE.
And see why I thought there was that I always go Lefevre. Wait,
Yes,
Lefevre.
because there was Brett Favre,
Yeah.
right? There's all kinds of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much. Sorry, not sorry.
This is really fun. I want to. Oh no, that was supposed to be the last word. Sorry.
No. Bye. Bye. I am sitting here with somebody that has one of the coolest podcasts. Can you say hi?
Hey everyone, it's me, Zen Zenith.
That's Zen. Zen, tell everybody about your podcast.
Yeah, my podcast is called The House Show Show, and it's a live concert and event series plus a podcast. So we actually do the whole thing live and then record it to be digested in your car or wherever you want to be. And it's musicians who come on, they sing their songs. I sit down and have conversations with them and really get to the heart of who each artist is and how that relates to their music.
Like when they lost their virginity.
Right, exactly.
Things like
That's
that.
usually my first question.
The important stuff. Oh my God. No, it's really cool. I've heard the show. You're great. It's
Thank you.
awesome. I love
Aw.
it. It's such a great concept. I hope everybody out there listens to it. Where can they find you?
They can find us online at thehouseshowshow.com and on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, anywhere that podcasts are found.
Awesome.
It's Dragon Wagon.